Contempt of Court, written by Croatian Spy. The assembly stared at the gathered humans. They were not impressed.
All in all, the infractions total 117, at least 64 of which are deeply serious, the judge began, briefly clearing his throat. You showed an utter disregard for the galactic policy.
We didn't know galactic, the Terran representative started, before being silenced by their appointed public defender.
Ignorance of the law is no excuse,
the judge replied, shuffling the papers in front of him.
To name a few, unscheduled and unapproved visitations of your moon, 22 trespasses in total.
How were we supposed to know that we needed to apply to visit our own moon? The representative replied, much to the chagrin of the audience.
Your own moon?
The judge responded, many of his eyebrows rising in unison.
It is common knowledge that any species only lays claim to their own home planet.
It's not common knowledge to us, the human replied, and the judge laughed.
Once again,
the judge began,
ignorance of the law.
How can we not be ignorant? The human interjected, and the judge glanced at the public defender.
Such outbursts will not be tolerated,
the judge replied, turning over the page in front of him.
In relation to that, you have also been charged with many counts of noise pollution dating back from more than half a century.
Noise pollution? Do you mean the radio signals we've sent out to try and contact extraterrestrial life?
Precisely,
the judge replied.
An absolute racket.
You mean you've been hearing them? You mean that you could have contacted us and told us the laws that we were breaking all this time? The human said, his voice cracking from anger. Ignorance, we know, the human snapped. What the hell else have we done?
Unsanctioned orbits, interstellar pornographic littering, even many counts of clear alien face,
the judge replied, as many of the audience seemed severely offended. Alien face? The human asked.
Oh, yes. Countless culturally insensitive depictions of aliens in various media, akin to your home planet's version of blackface, the judge said, his voice dripping with disdain. Although I do not expect such depictions from such savages.
The human, apparently defeated, let out a long sigh. So, what now? What happens to us? The human asked, as their public defender looked around awkwardly.
For the sheer number of infractions, firstly, your planet will be impounded,
the judge began. Of course, the human replied.
The bulk of your population will be generationally interred and forced to work off a substantial fine, the judge continued.
No doubt, the human said.
And, finally, the appointed leader of the humans, namely you, will be in charge of the paperwork, the judge said with smirks. And I think you'll find that there is a lot of paperwork.
The human looked to his brethren for a few seconds. So, just to confirm, he said, gazing up at the judge, your decision is final. We can't just shake hands or tentacles or whatever, and just say that we're good, and now that we know what's up, we'll play nice hereafter.
We follow the law in this galaxy, the judge replied haughtily. There's no place for your lawless, primitive heathens.
The human smiled. Fair enough, he said, tapping his ear. Breaching charges suddenly flung bits of door and debris throughout the courtroom, causing terrestrials of all species to jump to the floor. Humans clad in combat gear repelled through holes in the roof and walls, encircling the paltry security in no time at all. The judge slammed his hammer onto the block again and again throughout the chaos, but to no avail.
What is this?
The judge shouted over the noise.
Is this a sneak attack?
Pretty much, the human replied.
But you didn't apply for a sneak attack,
the judge whined, his voice cracking. Well, the human started, wide grin forming on his face. Ignorance of the...
Oh, fuck off,
the judge replied in defeat. End of story. Story number 2. The Demons of Humanity, written by PaggyUK. To the galaxy's great races, we were children. The Furlians, with their grandiose golden fleets, the Kariari, with their shimmering beautiful cities, and the ruins, with their thrones saturated in blood, all took us as naive young children. Not because we were a young race, by galactic standards we were, but because we are weak, or so they thought, and we encouraged. They called us children because we smiled, because we said please and thank you, because we showed respect. And when they taxed our colonies into starvation, when they impounded our trade ships on trumped-up charges, and when they demanded our young to go fight and die in their wars under treaty clauses, we did not bare our teeth. We filled out forms, lodged complaints, and made appeals. We smiled, and they thought that was all we had. And then the Kayari annexed our garden world, a jewel amongst our colonies we called Eden, citing a prior claim they had forgotten about. We packed our colonists and their belongings onto transports and left, quietly and politely. The ruins tested some new bioweapons on one of our border colonies, claiming it was a mistake. We buried the dead and cared for the sick. We rebuilt from the ashes, quietly and politely. Then the Furlians blockaded Earth's space for non-compliance with our treaty obligations. We starved, but we came together, shared what we had, and we endured quietly and politely. We recited our tired old mantra that humanity must be better, and we became the galaxy's favorite joke as a result. And then Ambassador Chen stood clutching a picture of his daughter, his voice cracked as he openly wept before the Galactic Council after his appeal was denied. The other delegates laughed and pointed. They didn't know that his daughter had just suffocated in the ruins of a mining station that had been bombed by pirates, which the Council had refused to prosecute. They laughed. We did not. And that was when the first cracks began to appear. When humanity asked for aid during the Nervalx raids as per treaty obligations, the Council sent observers. Our outer colonies burned and thousands died. The Council's observers wrote reports and were awarded medals for outstanding work for their non-interventionist analysis. And when Ambassador Franklin protested and called out the double standards, he was promptly censored by the Council, and assembled delegates began to laugh, but the laughter died in their throats as Ambassador Franklin slammed his head into a desk in pure frustration. But still, we smiled. But now that smile was hollow and a lot more menacing. Senator Arcady spoke to the Council, trying to calm the matters. "We are not weak. We are trying to be kind," was all he managed as an explanation before the chamber erupted in laughter. He shot himself in his office a week later. He left a note which read, "They laughed when I said that we were kind. Now, they'll learn what happens when we are not." The galaxy barely noticed. They called it a typical human weakness. They had mistaken our kindness for weakness. They had mistaken our manners for fear. And they mistook our restraint for surrender. They had never taken the time to study us or our history. They never took the time to see the inner demons we had finally defeated and the strength it was taking to keep them suppressed. They took us as weak and small, and not as a species which had been baptized in blood, which had chosen mercy instead. Humanity, a forgettable species, too polite to be a threat, were treated with contempt. And then came the breaking point. Eridani Theta was a growing human colony world, a quiet place of artists, teachers, and families. The ruined Sayara fleet blasted without a second thought. No communication, no mercy. Afterwards, they claimed that they had mistaken it for a pirate base. Rune's comms channels broadcast for weeks scenes of the massacre taken from human security cameras, parents clutching their children as the sky ignited. 6 million lives gone in the blink of an eye. This time, there were no protests, no appeals, no speeches, just silence. Earth broke off contact. The Council received just one message: "We are taking time to grieve." And the Council took it as another sign of human weakness and laughed. And we did. We mourned the dead, but we also began to prepare. The first signs of what was about to come was when the human battleship Vengeful Dawn appeared over the Kayari moon of Urith. There was no warning, no demands, no gleaming lasers, no grand speeches. Just tungsten rods screaming through the atmosphere, shattering the shimmering beautiful cities into an ugly, rabble-filled wasteland strewn with bodies. There were no survivors. 3 more Kayara worlds fell within a week in the same way, with the same horrifying, silent efficiency. The rune sent a fleet to teach us a lesson. It vanished in the Perseid Nebula. All that remained was a massive debris field and a single unmanned human drone, broadcasting a looped message. You should have left us alone. The galaxy panicked. They begged us for talks and to stop this madness. We gave them no answer. We were done talking. When the Furlians gathered their fleets and demanded Earth's surrender, their homeworld skies turned black. Not with ships, but with mirrors. Thousands of sunfall rays, bending the Furlian starlight into a single searing beam. In 3 minutes, their capital was twisted, molten inferno. We watched on, silent. For every colony taken from us, we burned 10 in return. For every child we lost, we destroyed 1 of their cities as payment for the debt. There were no more appeals, no more restraint. Humanity had been pushed too far, and its mask of politeness had finally cracked. What lay beneath wasn't rage, wasn't madness, it was cold, impassionate retribution. The galaxy had awakened the thing that we had buried under arts, civilities, and peace treaties, the thing forged in trenches, sharpened in gas chambers, and written in mushroom clouds. Humanity had its demons, and we had buried them deep. But the galaxy had dug them up, and the galaxy was horrified by what they had unleashed. Years passed, empires fell, and the Galactic Council became a distant memory. Humanity's vengeance was without equal. The galaxy begged for mercy, but humanity had already used up all of theirs. Then the attack stopped. Human ships withdrew. Our final message to the surviving other races was brief. We'll not harm those who do not harm us. We try to be kind, but you taught us otherwise. And with that, we vanished. No trade, no talk, no war, just silence. And now, the galaxy watches Earth from afar, and parents teach their children to be kind to humans, or they will remember what they were. End of story. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.